Justice, let's go to the last part of our discussion for today. Let's talk about the West Philippine Sea. What's the importance of the Typhon missile system deployment to the Philippines? Because um, initially, both Philippines and the Pentagon were wishy-washy about this. Sabi nila gamitin sa balikatan, tapos hindi ginamit sa balikatan. Sinabi nila for logistical transportation purposes lang. And the next thing we know, it's still here. And then, more important now, we have Filipino officials saying, like General Bronner, na who knows, maybe we'll keep it forever. How important is the deployment of those missile systems, like Typhoon missile systems? And do you think we should have more of those even in the Philippines and acquire some of them ourselves?
Well, they serve as a deterrence, just like our BrahMos missiles, and this one have longer range, so they have a bigger, they pay a bigger deterrence to China. So I think we should keep them if we can and acquire more of this, uh, just to uh, for deterrence. It doesn't mean that we can beat China in a war, but China will think twice before it tries to invade us. No? So, and that's the value of this. It changes uh, the calculus on the part of the Chinese that whereas before they said it's just a walk in the park. Now it's no longer a walk in the park. Yeah, they will get a bloody nose, and that's what will prevent them from doing what they want to make the 10-dash line their national boundary. Because at the end of the day, that's really the bottom line. What's the all this? What's the end game of China? The end game of China is to make the 10-dash line their national boundary. That means we lose 80% of our exclusive economic zone. We lose all our island territories in the West Philippine Sea. That's really the bottom line there. And if we have these missiles, the Typhoon, the BrahMos, then it could deter China. It could delay them. It could stop them. But if we don't have this, then it's a walk in the park for the Chinese.
And weakness invites aggression, right? I mean, I
That's
think
right. Yeah.
that's what people don't understand. If you look weak, you're ripe for the picking, the more there'll be war. So I
And
think, yeah.
the President Xi has to show something before the 100th year anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, and he has promised to retake Taiwan. And if he cannot retake Taiwan, we are the low-hanging fruit. And
It needs a punching bag. It needs a punching bag.
yeah, he needs a punching bag to tell the Chinese people, okay, we were not able to get number one objective, but we got our second objective.
Just since the last time we talked, hindi na tuloy itong joint patrols with the US or US supporting our mission resupply patrols to the disputed features. But in fairness, on some areas, there's some movements. I've been pushing for this for quite some time. Ito yung, why not US donate some of their relatively modern vessels that they're not using? So actually now there's a push in the US House of Representatives to give us a missile-guided cruiser. What do you think about that, considering that, it's not cheap to maintain some of these ones, especially the ones that may also need some extra expenditure? I think this is the Ticonderoga class.
Ticonderoga class
Deroga,
cruiser.
yes,
Well,
missile cruiser,
it's
yeah.
a huge ship,
Yeah.
and maybe you have about 40 missiles there, vertical launchers. So I don't know if that is appropriate for us.
Mm.
Uh, what we need really are frigates, not cruisers.
Yeah.
Uh, so I let the Navy decide whether that will
Yeah.
help us or be a problem for us.
Ako naman kasi ang take ko dito is we just have to normalize US giving us some more valuable things in a sense that I feel baka this could, yeah, it's symbolic, it's potentially impractical, or actually many find it impractical unless there's an all-out war or something that we're
Mm.
hopefully will not happen. But ang point ko lang kasi is, for instance, um you have former National Security Advisor of Trump writing this piece on Foreign Affairs magazine, Peace Through Strength, right? And he explicitly says we have to support the Philippines as much as we're supporting key allies like Israel. And Israel has been getting billions and billions of dollars of aid, defense aid throughout the years, and all of the state-of-the-art weapon systems, and the kind of enemies they're facing is nowhere close. They're facing non-state actors, militias, right? Compared to us who are up against the biggest navy on earth, by some account. Don't you think that this kind of even symbolic or impractical donations, whatever you want to call it, may open up psychologically this idea that the United States should really go ahead and give us massive new acquisitions, whether fighter jets, multi-role vessels, brigades, and whatnot. I'm just thinking kasi along those lines, na
Yeah.
normalize treating Philippines like a really special ally, like they're treating, I don't know, even Ukraine, which is not the US treaty ally now.
Yes. If I were to choose, I would rather ask HIMARS from them because remember, those HIMARS, with especially the long range one, can strike any of those bases of the Chinese in the Spratlys. They're within range. And once you have those HIMARS, then you're telling China, we can destroy you at any time. So all those bases of yours are useless. And you cannot destroy the HIMARS because they are mobile. They are not in a fixed position. So I think I would prefer the HIMARS than the Terraconda class of a cruiser because I think it's more effective, really, the HIMARS.
It's like you want to give us an old Ferrari when what we need is a nice new Toyota that is, gets us through, right? Parang
Yes.
give us a Yaris hybrid, we'll get it through. Um, what I heard about HIMARS when I asked some defense journalists accompanying the sila Austin and all last night was like, yeah, everyone is asking for that. You're not alone because gwapong-gwapo yung HIMARS dahil sa nangyari sa Ukraine, di ba? Bugbog sarado ang mga Russians eh. Um, but you have now the THAAD missile deployment to Israel in anticipation of potential Iranian retaliation should the cycle of tit for tat, let's just call it missile ping pong, continue. Aren't you worried, Justice, that the U.S. might get too bogged down? I mean, they're already bogged down to a certain degree because, having a two-front war with both Russia and Iran is, well, great news for China, right? I mean, let Moscow and Tehran take care of US by bogging them down into other theaters. Isn't that something that worries you here?
Yes, to a certain extent, because it could cause fatigue in the American public, because it could change. Their sentiment could change. They said, "Oh, why do we have to carry the burden of the world? Spend so much. Uh, they're spending a lot here." So that's a big worry. In fact, that uh, they will be overstretched, and uh, these things. If there's a war in the Middle East, it will consume a lot of military equipment. I mean, the a lot of you'll have to to fire a lot of missiles and bombs there, drop a lot of bombs. So it's concerning. That's why we have to think also of some fallback positions in case the U.S. gets too involved there and will lessen its attention to us, to our region of the world.
Yeah, I mean, you had a RAND Corporation and also another bipartisan congressional study said that the US at most can fight a 1.5 war, meaning
Yes.
half involved in one theater and then fully involved in other theaters. So if Russia and Iran bog down the US already in two theaters, I don't know how much is left for Taiwan or the Philippines. I mean, as we speak, the Financial Times came up with this report that intense war demands have left Israel relying on the US to fill in the gaps because the latest ballistic missile attack by Iran showed some vulnerabilities. And that's not even the entirety of the arsenal, and things could get crazier. So Dana Stroll, a former senior US defense official, said the US cannot continue supplying both Ukraine and Israel at the same pace. We are reaching a tipping point. like I mean, this is if you are in Asia and you're looking at China and saying, "What the heck? This is not good, right? This is quite worrying." So
Yes.
yung mga iba na tuwan-tuwa dun sa mga wars sa mga yan, like actually, if you're a Filipino, you want those wars to end and not escalate anymore because the real deal is here, right? China is the real deal.
Yeah, and that's why we should always be prepared for that. And it could get even worse, that the American public will get tired, weary of doing all this fighting abroad. They just might withdraw. And we should be prepared for that also.
Ako kasi just it's not only the public opinion which I'm worried about. Well, I mean, Americans are entitled to care about their own national interests and all. I'm worried about even well, it's more like the US not even having enough of itself militarily to do what it has to do, even if it has public support. At the end of the day, limitations are limitations. Just on the last point here. Ay, hindi, wag na. Baka si Ronald Llamas na lang tanongin ko. Hindi, mukhang may Harry Roque na rin yung kabilang kampo. Hindi ko alam kilala ito si Attorney Wilfredo Garrido. Kala ko sila Chloe Caloy lang. Pati ako tinetroll niya ako. Ngayon sabi ko, sino kaya ito? Tanongin ko kaya si Justice Carpio. I mean, one thing I don't understand, Justice, is bakit may mga ibang tao dyan na kunyari pink or opposition, tapos inaaway nila tayo. Sabi nga niya, kami ni Jay at saka tayo. Wala naman daw tayong ginawa, wala tayong sinabi sa EJK, nagpa-safe lang daw tayo sa West Philippine Sea. I don't know, I'm just finding this very interesting. Tagapin na lang natin, Justice, na huwag natin patulan.
Well, me, I just shrug my shoulder. Uh, like the US, we cannot fight on all fronts.
Yeah, good point. Good point. That was a good Uno reverse justice. No? Richard, puro kang sinasabi, we cannot do multiple theaters. Isa ka pa nag-away. Thank you so much, Justice Carpio, for that fantastic conversation. I think everyone loves it as usual. Maraming mga ibang tanong dyan. Of course, half of our questions are always about Harry Roque and, and all of that, but maybe next time on that. Actually, by some of them have even some questions here. Yung SM-6 missile systems ng because China did the ballistic missile test also recently, di ba? Nung
Yes.
September 26, right? And medyo nakakatakot yung China at saka yung ginawa nila sa Taiwan. So I'm just saying, don't forget this part of the world. It's also important. Salamat, Justice. Is there something that you think our audience should pay attention to? What should they look forward to in terms of your interventions dun sa PhilHealth scandal issue? What are the other things that they have to pay attention to?
Well, that one is very important because it will affect a lot of poor people, and
Yeah.
that's why we had to do this. And hopefully, we will get the right attention from the Supreme Court. We really need a TRO.
Yeah. Thank you very much again, Justice, for also that very good advice. Choose your battles. I mean, I was just advising, oh, nga pala, it applies also to us. So let's choose our battles and let's move forward from that. Hopefully we'll catch you again, Justice, with the rest of the gang, with sila Ronald. And ngayon,
Yeah.
senatorial candidate Mark Gamboa, na-clear na siya, hindi na siya nuisance. I said, "Woo! Kasama ka lang sa podcast namin, kaya siguro nanood din ng Comelec, kaya na-clear ka na, ay namin i-disqualify yan, baka ma-RRM kami." Thank you so much, Justice, and hopefully let's continue this conversation very, very soon. God bless po.
Okay. Thank you also.